Alright, so my wife got a new Tesla Type Y, and therefore I have this charger I'm going to install. Fortunately, I have a 100 amp panel, GE here, right next to where she pulls her car in the garage. So I'm going to install this charger to this electric panel and try to make a little video. Here's all my pieces and parts. So some drills, batteries, charging, electrical tools, screwdrivers, tape measure, 6'2" Romex wire, a little bit of 3/4 inch conduit glue, some pieces and parts, 60 amp double pole breaker. I'm going to replace this 50 that's not being used to make sure that we're getting the fastest charging time. So anyhow, I hope this is helpful to other people who may be encountering the same scenario when buying their Tesla. First thing I'm going to do is remove the panel cover and cut the power. Remove the panel using my drill, my screw gun with a straight screwdriver. Remove these 4 screws to remove this cover. Okay, I removed the cover. I'm going to use this voltage detector. Make sure I cut the power down at the main coming up to this sub panel. I'm going to use this voltage detector to make sure my power's off so I can safely start working. Nothing coming in. Looking pretty good. So then I'm going to just turn these in here a couple revolutions so I don't lose my screws. And then I will look to remove this double pole 50 and replace it with the double pole 60. Okay, to remove this double pole 50, I'm just going to take my screwdriver, pop that out like so. Now, since I have a GE box, got my GE double pole 60, I'm going to stick it in basically the opposite of just taking that one out. Make sure it's pressed in there properly like so, and there we have it replaced. Alright, next I'm going to locate a 3/4 inch knockout I want to use. It's more likely going to be that bad boy. I'm going to try to put my Tesla charger directly straight down from that, be convenient height and on the driver's side to where she'll be charging her vehicle. And I'm going to attempt to knock that out just using my screwdriver and knocking out just a 3/4 inch. Technically I'm not an electrician, but I'm just going to kind of take my screwdriver, pop that through like so, and then hopefully this works without messing up. Kind of knock that off. Double check that that's 3/4. Okay, so that was just a 1/2 inch. So I had to take my needle nose, take one more layer off to get to the 3/4. Alright, next I'm going to attach this male adapter through this slot, through my 3/4 inch knockout. And I'll add this lock nut and bushing on the top, secure it down. Alright, next I'm going to attach the same type of assembly, the male adapter, lock nut, and bushing to the back plate that came with the Tesla charger. I'm going to go, my plan is to mount it pretty much straight down. I have a wooden wall, so it'll be easy to attach. Pretty close to it, straight down. So I'm going to use the top knockout in the back plate. So to attach these, we just slide our male adapter through, attach our lock nut, and then lastly we'll put our insulation bushing over top of that. Since I can place this about anywhere I want in this circumstance, I'm just going to cut All right, my next step, I'm going to just take this hacksaw, cut a length, 6 to 8 inches or so of this 3/4 inch conduit. I'll glue it to this male adapter on this back plate and basically stick it wherever it fits. Glue it into that top male adapter, screw this back plate into the solid wooden wall. Having the solid wooden wall, if this was a drywall or something like that, I'd have to locate a stud to make sure I was having something solid to go into. It's a solid wooden wall, so I can basically put it anywhere I want. Okay, so I cut about a 6-inch length off of my conduit. I'm going to take this round file and kind of file the insides of my conduit. It's always good to round off those edges. You don't want any sharp burrs or even sharp edges when you're pulling the wire through to scrape the jacket of the wire. So I'm going to take this round file, kind of just quickly buff out the insides of this conduit. Alright, next I'm going to take some PVC cement. I'm going to glue this small piece into this male adapter. It's a really good practice, I think, for appearance to put the printed lettering to the back. So after I glue these pieces like so, actually I think I'm going to cut a little bit more length off of this first. It's a little too low for my liking. Alright, so I did end up cutting a couple more inches off of that conduit. This will leave my back plate, the bottom of it, about 36 inches from the floor, which is a good height, and maximize both the length of the charging cord to the vehicle and a decent height to keep it out of reach of anything bad. So I'm going to take my PVC cement. I got a rag here to catch any extra droppings, keep it neat. Again, what I was mentioning before is in addition to filing the inside to give it a little beveled edge, it's always good practice to put your print to the back wall so that it's hidden. So I'm going to glue this to the back plate and then glue that to the top and screw this back plate into the wall. Okay, so I just glued this by just taking my dauber, making a nice round, going around it once, using a rag to wipe any excess off. You want to keep it as neat as possible. Then I'm just going to screw this back plate securely to the wall, and we're moving forward. Alright, this next step, they send this template. I guess if you were pre-drilling the holes, but on the template you can see, depending on which entrance point you use for your wire and conduit, they have the suggestions. I use the top knockout, so all 6 holes are available. They sent these 2 rather large wood screws with the package. I think I'm going to get away with using these 4 smaller brass ones, and I'm just going to go with the 4 corner options. Upper left, upper right, bottom left, bottom right. Just use my screw gun, a number 2 bit, these 4 brass screws to attach my back plate to the wall. I'm going to make sure that my conduit is nice and straight. Alright, that worked out pretty nicely. This back plate's pretty hard plastic, so my 4 brass screws were self-tappers. And they worked out pretty good. I got them in, like I said, the upper left, upper right, bottom left, bottom right. This is very secure. Got the conduit pretty vertically straight. No complaints there. And next I'll start to begin my wiring. Okay, so like I mentioned before, I got a Romex 6.2. Let me try to get a better view of that. Copper. So it's a 3-wire technique. I'm going to feed it up through this conduit into the box, make sure I got enough length to put my 2 hot wires into the double pole. And then the one thing I started to notice, my grounding bar is pretty full. I don't know if you can see it in there. I have 1 spot. So I'm going to move some things around in there to make sure I can get this 6.2 down in that second slot from the bottom, the bigger slot. And I'm going to slide that grounding wire that's in the second slot to the third slot, and then that smallest wire up into that fifth slot. Tighten all those down. The ground will go into the ground bar, and then I'll be bringing my 2 hots into this 60 amp double pole circuit breaker, and then I'll wire into this back plate according to the wiring diagram. It's basically just simple. Line 1, line 2, and then the ground. Alright, so let me work on that for a minute. Alright, as you can see, I pulled my wire through this short length of conduit. Just going to make sure that I have enough length to do what I got to do in the box. I mean, I bought about 6 feet and I only needed a couple feet, so should have plenty and even enough if I make a mistake. But I'll cut this jacket. I'll end up cutting about 5/8 of an inch off of each of hot. Screw them into this double pole. I'll take my ground, like I mentioned, over to that second one after I do some rearranging there, and then I'll wire into there. Okay, next I stripped my jacket a little bit. Still working on this part, but trying to basically get to a length where I can, as you can see, some of the previous electricians did a pretty neat job of keeping the wire management. But I'm going to go black on the top pole, white on the bottom pole. I'll strip the last 5/8 or so using my wire strippers. I noticed that, again, I'm not an electrician, but I got to get these small sets, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful I don't cut my wire. But get the jacket off. And then again, I'm going to get my ground rearranged over here. But that's the next step. Start to do the actual wiring into the panel. Alright, so I got my ground bar in, got my ground wire into the ground bar, and now I'm going to, you see I also have stripped the jacket about 5/8 inch or so. I'm going to insert this in the top pole, the white one into the bottom pole, and screw those down to the torque specs, and then we'll be in the box. Alright, so I actually recut these to about 3/4 of an inch, making sure the strands and the hairs weren't nicked, and then nipped off the ends. And then I'll be placing these in there and then screwing down these screws. Okay, wired into my double pole breaker. Everything seems pretty secure. Grounding bar. Next, I'm going to wire into the backing plate of the Tesla piece. Alright, got my wire stripped. Stick my ground over here in the ground area. I'll tighten that down. My L2 and my L1, and I'll tighten those down. So going around the left side and up through the bottom. Good practice. Alright, it's probably pretty hard to see, but in the back there's like a little hook that you can feed your zip tie through and zip your wires so that it keeps your wire management and tucks it back in there. So I'm going to do that next. Alright, so I got my wire management. Wires are zipped to the back hook, keeping the wires off of the corners. Wired into L1 black, L2 white. Ground wire into the ground lug. Should be back plate all wired. Alright, I should be at the point where I can attach my cover here. Let's see here. Yep, pretty simple. And then as you can see, there's slots on the top and bottom. Some set screws. I'll screw those in. And then we should be ready to test it. Okay, I got my cover plate on. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I cut another 1.5 inches or so off that conduit. I kind of got lucky, I suppose. Looks pretty slick, actually. Kind of like I meant to do it, but it was accidental. I would definitely be conscious if I was another person doing this at home to make sure you have enough room to get the cover plate on. I would go no less than 6 inches on the conduit run, probably even a little bit more, because the one upper left set screw. Probably a little dark to see. I couldn't get my screw gun in there. I had to get a separate Allen key, and it gave me a little bit of a hassle to get that in there. But it's all attached now, and we're all connected. I'm going to go hit the main power and see if we're operational. All right, time to test her. I turned on the main power switch. Now I'm going to hit the circuit breaker. Let's see what we get here. There it is. We have life. All right, looks like we're operational. Only thing left to do is to screw my cover plate on and pull in the vehicle and test it for the first time, charging up the vehicle. Again, there were options. You know, you could go use a 60. I put the instruction manual in here. And so what I'm trying to get at here is, if you look at this page, depending on your breaker size, you can go from 15 all the way up to 60, but that's your charging rate. So with the 60 amp, you're getting full charging rate. I think it was somewhere around 30 miles an hour, as opposed to obviously significantly less as you went down to the less power coming in. So I went with the full 60 amp double pole breaker, got that in. We're operational, as you can see. Once you turn it on, you're looking for a single bar. There you have it. I'm going to put my top knockout to the cover in here. I'm going to put my instruction manual in there. Put my cover plate back on. And pull in the car and give it the ultimate test. Alright, final test. So you get your charger. You hit this little button right here. Oh, there it goes. Pops open. Plug it in. That should turn green in a second. There it is. Then you can check out your phone. They said for the life of the battery to set a charge limit. We set ours at 90%. It looks like we're about 60% right now. And so this is our charge. Right now we have 182 miles on it. And that's at about 60%, and we'll charge it till 90%. Curious to see how long this will take. It's 8:12 now. Be curious to see how long it takes. Real quick, if you want to take this out, you push this button again. When it hits blue and it releases. Oh. Blue and release, or start again. Hit the button, back in, looking for green, and we're in business. All right, so it seems like a pretty successful project. I'm a non-electrician and was able to accomplish this feat. And our Type Y Tesla. Alright, so we're going to do the ultimate test here. I've actually never driven this yet. Oh, so it's my wife's phone. This is how we started. I believe we put it in there. Put our foot on the brake. See, everything's firing up here. Phone's charging in its spot. To her settings. I think we push this down. We're in D. Press the gas and we're off. Alright. Definitely a neat car. And we're into our spot. Let's see here. Push the button in. Park. Back to the getting in and out position. And then I believe we got to hit this button. Helps open the door. And I think when we leave the car, it shuts off. I'll check that later.